All right, let's turn our attention to Friday night, gentlemen, as we do have a couple of games that have our attention. The first one being in the American Athletic Conference, Dana Holgerson and Houston traveling to go play Tulsa. The weather is going to be quite a factor in this game, as it tends to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I think that for the Golden Hurricane, they are used to rock fights. Houston, we don't quite understand what they are based on the inconsistencies with the Texas Tech result, the close call against Navy. Tom, what do you make of this game and what's your pick?
You know what Houston is, Chip? It's a good defensive team, which is very strange and kind of out of character with what we think of with Dana Holgerson when you consider his entire coaching career, whether it was as an offensive coordinator or head coach. We put Dana with that whole air raid tree. Teams are going to throw the ball all the time, score a bunch of points, and you know what? If the defense gives up some points, as long as we outscore them, we'll be fine. But that hasn't been the case with this Houston team, who offensively has been pretty mediocre, but defensively, when it comes to success rate, this is a top 20 defense in the country right now, and I think that's going to play a big role against this Tulsa team, who has not been fantastic offensively. If you look at their yardage totals, they've been okay, but like Houston, when it comes to success rate and staying on schedule, they're pretty inconsistent and mediocre, and that's why I'm liking the under in this matchup. I think it's going to be a lower scoring affair. I trust both defenses a little more than I do the offenses right now, and the under has just been a good play in the series between these two. It's gone 4-1 in the last 5 meetings. It's also 4-1 in Houston's last 5 games, and it's 5-2 in Tulsa's last 7 games at home. So the trends and the way that these two teams have looked all point me to a lower scoring affair tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I like the under too, Tom. I'm going to take Houston just because I think getting Clayton Tune back is big. Throw the Texas Tech result out. That was just abysmal. But he came back last week, completed over 70% of his passes. Completed over 70% of his passes in week 2. Now, obviously, he got hurt week 3, not much of a sample size, but we've seen what he's done throughout the course of his career, and he's been a pretty solid quarterback for Dana Holgerson. So I think when you look at Tulsa, you're right. I mean, the offense in general for Tulsa is just so hard to figure out, and I like the under. I think Houston, in terms of athletes, especially outside, they have more than enough to stress this Tulsa defense. So I'll take Houston. I definitely like your play of the under. Weather has something to do with that as well. But both these defenses are pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tulsa here. I don't have that same confidence in Clayton Tune, but that might be a bias for me. You hang around college football too long, I'm going to just eventually souring on you, right? I mean, hello, Tanner Morgan. I'm sorry. I'm just over you.
Why are you
we've
being
moved
mean
on
to Nick Starkel?
Listen, we've moved on to shinier things. I wish nothing but full health to Nick Starkel, who we saw in a sling last week, the San Jose State quarterback working his way back into the lineup. Massive game in College Park as number 5 Iowa visits to play Maryland. Over under around 48. The spread has slowly crept on down to a field goal. Now it's back up to 4. Barrett, when you're looking at Iowa, Maryland, do you give Mike Loxley, Talia Tagovailoa, and the Terps a chance at pulling off a top 5 upset on Friday night?
Absolutely. We've seen stuff happen on Friday night, crazy stuff. And you look at Maryland, Talia Tagovailoa has been awesome. They're a fringe top 25 team. And this is the moment, I think, for Tagovailoa, where he can start to become that household name and not live in his brother's shadow. I think they're going to dictate the style of the game a little bit, Maryland will. And Iowa doesn't want that smoke. I mean, granted, defensively, they're really solid. But if you put up 20 points on Iowa, can their offense keep up? I don't think so, not on the road. So I'll take Maryland. I'll take Maryland straight up, and I'm with you. I think it's going to be pretty ugly, pretty low scoring, because once Maryland gets a lead, I think they're going to be comfortable enough to sort of put it in neutral, let Talia Tagovailoa, go through the motions, be smart with the football, and make it known to the world that Maryland's a pretty darn good football team this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Maryland here tonight too. Like, Iowa fans have hated me all season long for pointing this out, so I might as well steer into it. But that number 5 next to their name is melting people's minds when it comes to this spread, because the Iowa Hawkeyes are not the 5th best team in the country. This is a team that started the year with a blowout win over an Indiana team that seemed big at the time, but Indiana's 2-2. Then they followed it up with a road win against Iowa State, which seemed big at the time, but Iowa State's now 2-2 and just lost to Baylor last week. There really isn't an impressive win on the resume. Barrett, you mentioned it. Their offense is terrible. They are 121st nationally in success rate on offense. The only Power 5 program that is worse has been Kansas, and that is never the territory you want to be in when discussing college football. And they've also benefited from a defense that, to its credit, has been outstanding. They force turnovers like crazy. And while you can talk about fumble luck, the fact of the matter is Iowa has long been very good at forcing turnovers in the passing game. They have ball hawks in the secondary. They're aggressive. They force turnovers. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to rely on that tonight against this Maryland team who offensively has more talent than anybody they've faced this season. Maryland legitimately has NFL dudes at the receiver spot that are going to test and stress this Iowa defense. I like the Terps at home on a short week. I cannot trust this Iowa offense to score enough points to cover as a favorite tonight.
UNITY, UNITY. Yes, drop that confetti. I am also on Maryland. The snake pit will be incredible. And I do think that when we think about the ways that this game can play out, if Maryland scores early, scores fast, and gets a couple touchdowns on the board, Iowa is in trouble. Like, we are throwing the upset alert sirens on, 30, 45 minutes into this game with just a couple of explosive plays. Iowa, I hope you show up ready for the start of that game, because if you're late getting off the bus, the Terps can run away with this easy. And Barrett mentioned it, then you shut things down because you simply do not trust Iowa's offense to be able to climb out of a hole. Colorado State was a little bit too frisky for one half, and I do think that Maryland might have more trouble if it's trying to press in the second half once the Iowa D really does settle in. But I'm going to take Maryland. I think they can get it done on the field. And so, yes, we do have UNITY. Much love to Latifah on that one. On CBS Sports Network, we've got BYU, number 13 in the country, traveling to play Utah State. The Aggies got a lot of yards and very few points to show for them against Boise State in that spotlight opportunity on CBS. Now they are still going to be in Logan, trying to find some of that magic that they had at the start of their season. Barrett, what do you see in this game as BYU comes to town to face Utah State?
Like, I don't know about you guys, but before y'all do cover 3 at the end of every Saturday night, like, watching BYU is a treat, man. Like that, they always get the 10:30 ESPN game, and they are so much fun. They can run the ball. It's not the same, sort of attack with Zach Wilson, just because that's not the way it's built. And I like Kalani Sitake's, obviously familiar with the program, but he's so amenable to what his personnel is capable of. Jaren Hall is awesome, more as a dual threat quarterback. And then if you haven't watched Allgaier play, he's just a bruiser. But I think the biggest thing is that they play with effort, man. Like, that one play where the defender tracked down the player, who Oklahoma State player recovered the fumble, ripped it out of his hands. I mean, that's just the kind of effort that they play. They love each other. And so, against Utah State, that defense for BYU has been lights out. And I don't think Utah State's going to be able to run up and down the field the way they have in games past. So I'll take the Cougars. I think it'll be low scoring. You'll see a little bit of defense. But I love BYU. That's a really good football team.
See, I'm on the over for this one tonight. You guys both have children, so I'm telling you right now, there's no way in hell you're both going to be awake for the end of this game, because this is going to be a 4.5-hour football game. I think I look at Utah State and I look at this offense, and this is a team that tries to go fast. They move at a really high rate in offense. They like to run a lot of plays, and I think that they could exploit this BYU defense a little bit, because the Cougars' overall numbers have been pretty solid. But if you look at some of the underlying metrics like success rate, this BYU defense ranks 108th nationally. It's been able to cover some of that with its offense and the teams that it's played, but there are some cracks in there that I think Utah State can exploit. And on the other side of the ball, Utah State's defense is just as bad as BYU's. In fact, it's probably worse in most metrics, and I think that this is a BYU offense that is probably going to be able to name its score tonight. I could see the Cougars getting into the 40s pretty easily. I think Utah State can get up to around 24. I'm picturing like a 49-24 kind of game, which will safely put us on the over. So that's the direction I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going BYU. This is a double-digit win for me. I've been on the Utah State train. I was singing the Blake Anderson praises about this team that doesn't quit. but now the expectations are just a little too high. I think this is a 10 to 14 point win, if not more, for the Cougars.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.